Good morning. My name is Rebecca de Freitas. I'm part of the Targeted Grants and Volunteer Resources Committee of Junior League of Washington. And I am thrilled today to be sitting down with Elizabeth Bennett of Together We Bake, which is the Alexandria non-for-profit workforce training and personal development program for women in need of a second chance. We've had a long relationship with Together We Bake. They're a 2019, 2020 Targeted Grant recipient, and we are so glad to have you here, Elizabeth. Thank you for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Well, I was wondering, we don't have a ton of time, but in so many words, can you just tell us about your organization, your mission and founding date, target population, and number of participants that you serve?
Yeah, definitely. So as you mentioned, we're a job training and personal development program for underserved women. We're centered around a baking business. So we started in 2012. We serve women coming out of the criminal justice system, women who are or have experienced homelessness, women who have survived abuse, women who've recently immigrated, women who've been out of the workforce for a long time. And obviously sometimes these categories overlap. And we do serve women from the DC metro area. And let's see, I think I've covered most of your questions in that one.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was quick and to the point. So I think, so a 2012 nonprofit, that's pretty new. So it'd be interesting to see, how has the Junior League of Washington, we've already been partners, how has our grant impacted your program?
Definitely. And I think the other question I forgot to answer was how many participants we've had. So we to date have graduated more than 200 women from our program. And we also have graduates who now work for us as well. So more than half of our staff are graduates of our program. And two of them help run the program now. Or they don't help run the program, I'm sorry, they run the program.
That's great retention. So you have former alumni coming back in leadership positions. That's wonderful.
Yes, definitely. And to your question about how the Junior League Grant has been helpful and affected our program, it has been amazing, especially the timing of it. So the grant was to do incorporate digital literacy into our program, and this was I think planned pre-COVID, and then COVID hit, and the timing just could not have been better to incorporate those skills into our program. So it's just been a huge help.
That's great. And so you're talking about how you guys are already kind of ahead of the curve when we were flattening the curve of COVID. So, it seems like you already kind of have future on your mind. So are there any new or exciting programs that you guys have that are coming down the pipeline that you can share with us?
Great question. So we went through, I'm trying to remember when our last 5-year strategic plan was maybe 3 years ago. So we're getting ready to sort of start up that process again shortly. COVID, of course, has just affected everything for us and other nonprofits in terms of trying to make sure we're responding to that and making sure everyone is as safe as possible, and sort of making adjustments because of COVID. So in addition to the digital literacy components, earlier last year, we started doing more outreach to graduates. That's always been an important part of our program. We used to do monthly gatherings for graduates to come back and connect with us, as well as one of our graduate employees does outreach to make sure folks have what they need and that we're staying in touch. But we've really been focusing more on that now, given COVID, given that our graduates are more disproportionately affected by COVID. And so that's sort of where our focus is right now. But I think coming down the pike, we're talking new products, or a new product. We're talking how we can continue to serve the women that we serve currently and expand the number of women that we're serving as well.
That's fantastic. And I think, another question that we have is, as far as outside of receiving grant funds, are there ways that your organization has been able to partner with Junior League of Washington, or do you see ways for that in the future?
Yeah, definitely. Again, I think COVID has made things difficult, but normally we have a lot of volunteer opportunities. So we pair each woman in the program with a job counselor who works one-on-one on resume writing, interview skills, searching for and applying to jobs. That is still happening. It's happening virtually now rather than in person. And then we have some committees as well. So we have a development committee, and sort of an advocacy and awareness committee. And so there's definitely opportunities to get involved on those. Those meetings are, of course, happening virtually as well. But yeah, there's lots of ways to get involved.
Well, I think, you've kind of set us up for a pretty bright future of Together We Bake, and you've kind of shared some pretty interesting stats that there's 200 participants, that are kind of getting shuffled through the program there. And I'd be interested to know, how does your organization measure the impact of what you do? Like, what tools do you use?
Definitely. So we collect, I guess, metrics or statistics on sort of what we're doing. So we have, and I'm trying to remember what the most updated version of those are, but we look at things like the recidivism rates of the women that have been involved in the criminal justice system. So I think that rate is currently at about 8% for our graduates, whereas it's more like 70% across the country as a whole for folks coming out of the criminal justice system. We look at the percentage of women who are employed. That's currently at around 70%. We've looked at income, actually. So I think a survey that we did last January, our graduates had an increase in about $1,500 a month in income after going through the program. About 75% of our women are mothers. That doesn't necessarily, that speaks to the impact of, we're not just affecting the women in the program, but that has impacts on their families. We also teach one of our graduate employees teaches ServSafe classes, and so that's a nationally recognized food safety certification that can help you get in the door at a job or help you get higher wages, and we have about a 95% pass rate on that exam as well.
That's incredible. That's phenomenal. And I think, in our last 30 seconds of our rapid fire interview, the last question that I have for you is, is there anything else that you, Elizabeth, would like the public to know about Together We Bake? Anything else that we haven't covered in this quick time, or anything else you'd like to highlight? A hard question to end on. I apologize.
No, I think the women who go through our program are absolutely amazing and incredible and resilient, and would encourage your league members or anyone watching to come to one of our graduations or our empowerment breakfast and hear directly from the women who go through our program, because they're an inspiration to me and to the team at Together We Bake.
They certainly are, and we appreciate you being here, and we thank you so much for your partnership. And thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for all that the Junior League does. And with that,